Hey everyone, so Ultra League for Go Battle League has started for the past few days. I'll be releasing a video tomorrow on an anti-meta team I have that doesn't rely on any legendary Pokemon. So stay tuned for that, but for today's video, I decided to actually take on a challenge set by Kieng. If you don't know Kieng, he's one of the most prominent PvP content creators out there, as well as organizer, shoutcaster. I'll link Kieng's channel down below so you can check out his content. Kieng's challenge is to go 10-0 in rank 10 Go Battle League, Ultra League matches. However, you cannot use Snorlax, Machamp, any starters, any legendaries, or any mythicals. So I decided to give it a try, and here are the results of that. Okay, so my first iteration of my team, I decided to go with Gengar, Shiftry, and Poliwrath. For the most part, these are all kind of expensive investments, although they aren't legendaries. They don't cost 100,000 to unlock second moves, but they do need to be powered up quite a bit. So right here, I have a Gengar against a Meganium, which is not a terrible situation just because Gengar can resist grass damage. I was a little bit worried that he was going to hit me with an Earthquake at first. So I'm going to drop a Sludge Bomb, and my opponent does a quick switch to Poliwrath. And at this point, I decide to kind of try to muscle through this engagement just because I already know that my opponent was up quite a bit, and so if I was gonna probably burn a second shield or win that matchup. And so I go in with Poliwrath just because I know that Dynamic Punch can pretty much one-shot Shiftry. Shiftry does get beat by one Dynamic Punch in Great League, but because of the extra bulk in Ultra League, it can survive one Dynamic Punch with a sliver of health. But I know that he had enough for more than that. So I go straight for Ice Punch right here, kind of anticipating a Meganium swap, and then I go straight in for Shiftry. So Shiftry I've actually grown to really like in Ultra League, and you'll kind of see why here. All of Meganium's moves right here are going to be resisted, even Earthquake, and it's very energy intensive. So I'm just going to farm a little more and then hit it with a Leaf Blade, and then go in next, and I'm going to go in with another Leaf Blade. So this is a tricky situation because Alolan Muck will resist both Leaf Blade and Foul Play here. So I'm just going to have to spam as much as possible. And I see that my switch clock is almost up. So right after this Leaf Blade, I'm going to go quick for a switch into my Poliwrath. And luckily, I actually time it perfectly, and I'm able to pull a Dark Pulse off of this Alolan Muck. And at this point, I still have one shield, so I know that even if he hits me with another one, I'll be fine, and that I could get to another Leaf Blade in time. Yeah, so my opponent actually tried to sack swap his own Poliwrath too, which was would have been a really great play right there, but he was not able to pull it off. So I felt okay about this team. Looking back on it, Gengar's not the best pick, although it does wall off the Charmers. Because of how glassy it is, I wouldn't even say that it really walls off anything, because it's very attack heavy, and even though it's resisting the charm damage, it won't take that much damage. And so a lot of people that I noticed in Ultra League, Go Battle League, is that they'll safe switch Swampert. Swampert's a pretty meta pick, and so Shiftry can one-shot Swampert with one Leaf Blade, and this opponent actually decides to go with Muddy Water for some reason too, which is definitely resisted by Shiftry. But you don't have to shield anything that Swampert's going to throw at you, because in vast majority of cases, Shiftry or Swamperts will be running Earthquake and Hydro Cannon. And okay, so not a great situation there, and very great play by my opponent to catch me off guard and really chunk down a lot of Shiftry's life. Shiftry is also very attack heavy, and so it's going to take a lot of damage from a single charge. So I was able to take that out, and then at this point, I believe I let it go just because I know I have plenty of energy on the Shiftry in the back end to be able to take out this Venusaur. I believe I still have one shield too. Yeah, I do, and still full health Poliwrath. So I was feeling good about the team, 2-0 streak at the moment. And then I run into Ampharos, which is definitely not a meta pick as well, so I definitely respect my opponent bringing that. This probably wasn't the best play, because once I switched my Shiftry in, this is pretty much my only counter for Ampharos. I probably should have shielded it too, but I didn't. I was anticipating Thunder Punch, and that definitely messed me up with Dragon Balls. So he lets the Shiftry go. But at this point, Snorlax is a giant wall, and even though Shiftry hits pretty hard, it's not going to be able to beat Snorlax in this situation. So I go in with the Poliwrath right here, and my opponent's going to hit me with Body Slams, and then he brings in the Giratina. And this is kind of when I realized that Gengar's not the best pick, because even though it does super effective damage against Giratinas, which are very common in the meta, it also takes super effective damage from Giratina, and everyone knows Giratinas are very bulky in this league, and so it's just not a great time. And so at this point, pretty positive that my streak was reset. So I'm back to square zero, and I'm realizing how hard this challenge is. I also failed quite a few times prior to this set, and in between this set and my next set. So you'll be able to tell actually just from my Go Battle League rating. It drops quite a bit throughout the challenge, but I figured why not. It's the preseason, trying to have fun, try to see if this challenge is even possible, and so we'll see kind of in the next set of mons. So I do lose that one, and then I go against my friend CCO. CCO is a really great player, and so I knew that this is going to be a tough matchup. So he went with Togekiss, and then, like I said before, a lot of players safe switch Swampert. And so I shift tree ready, and I'm just going to hit it with the Leaf Blade. Thinking back on it, I probably should have took some charge moves because I knew that he had a Togekiss in the back, and so that would have removed Togekiss from being the farm if I took a few Hydro Cannons. And I forgot if I finished my train of thought earlier, but most Swamperts will be running Earthquake and Hydro Cannon. Very few will run Sludge Wave because they need the Earthquake to really take out Registeals as well as do some type of damage against Giratinas. And so that's usually why Shift Tree's a very safe pick in this. Muck isn't the best against Registeel, but I decided to run Muck because it's a hard wall to Charmers, which I definitely struggle with my team because two out of the three are weak to Charmers, and so I kind of want a hard counter right off the bat. And something I noticed is that most people that run Charmers will lead with it, and so if I lead with Muck, there's a pretty good chance I'll catch it off guard. And I kind of realized that the CCO's up a shield, and so I really need to burn that shield. And then I'm going to have to shield this because Weavile is actually very, very glossy, and it hits pretty hard though, and so I need to get this Focus Blast unshielded. And I was able to win that match. So currently on a 1-0 streak. I'm going back in. Like I said again, a lot of people lead with Charmers, and so I was able to catch that. And then again, people like to safe switch Swampert. And so this time around, I'm going to let a few fast moves go through. And so I know that he's probably going to hit me with another Hydro Cannon. I'm not going to shield it because I know that I could tank at least 2 Hydro Cannons, and the mud shots aren't going to do enough damage. And so at this point, if my opponent commits any shields, I'm going to be at a huge advantage. And so opponent smartly decides not to. I'm still going throughout the Leaf Blades. It's going to do neutral damage to Clefable. And like I said, Shift Tree is very high in attack, so it's going to do quite a bit of damage. So I'm running Poison Jab on the Muck, obviously. And so this is actually an interesting scenario because I didn't expect a Blaziken. Definitely a little off meta in its own. And I'm going to have to shield this because the main issue is I have Weavile in the back, and Weavile is going to take double damage to counter because the Ice and Dark typing, and then Weavile as well is not tanking at all. So that's like pretty much like 4 counters and it's probably dead. Something around there. And so luckily my opponent doesn't shield right there, and then I quickly switch into Weavile because I know that if I get to 1 Avalanche, I'm going to take out my opponent, or my opponent will have to kind of throw a charge move right there. And so my opponent probably shouldn't have, just because they already had a shield, and at that point I was able to just farm down. So I end up matching with CCO right again, so pretty much with 1 player in between. And so at this point, I'm kind of correcting my mistake from last time and now shield anything. And so I farm a little bit more and go straight for the Leaf Blade. And so this is where he kind of makes an error and he ends up shielding the Swampert. And so at this point, he's either going to double shield or lose the Swampert. Either way, he's still going to lose the Swampert because I'm just going to commit 1 shield, and now I'm able to get to another Leaf Blade before he gets to another Hydro Cannon. It's pretty much, I think, 3 Snarls to get to a Leaf Blade for a Shift Tree, and so with that Snarl energy generation, it's going to generate a lot of energy very quickly. I'm in a much better situation than I was in that first matchup with him, and so I know he probably has the same lineup, and he does, and I'm going to have to shield this Flash Cannon, or Focus Blast, sorry, and then I'm going to go in for my own Focus Blast. I believe Flash Cannon can probably take out the Weavile, just because it's so glassy already. But I was able to, let's see it's probably gonna be a Flash Cannon right here. Oh, it's another Focus Blast. Okay, so I'm just gonna farm down this, so I actually go for a Thunder Punch just to be safe. but I really have a very positive matchup in the back end because the Togekiss is not going to be able to one-shot this Muck with Ancient Power nor Flamethrower. And so, best case scenario, he gets a boost with the Ancient Power, and then things would be kind of over. But he didn't, and even if he got the boost, I think it still would have been over for him just because that Poison Jab damage with Thunder Punch is going to do quite a bit. So, going into this set, it's going to be a tough one. Again, people like to lead with Charmers, and so I got really lucky this entire set here. So this is kind of tricky. What I was mainly worried about is if he had a Swampert in the back, right? Because if he had a Swampert, then I want to save my Shiftry for it, because Shiftry technically is probably better against this Giratina right here. Now, my opponent actually gets a boost right here, so I decided to let the Weavile go. I don't know if that's the best decision, looking back on it, but my opponent's probably going to shield again anyway. And so I decided to bring the Shiftry. I know it's a pretty tough battle at this point in time. With the boost, it's just going to be really tough to overcome. And force the shield. Usually Shiftry can take at least 1 or 2 charge moves depending on what Giratina is throwing at you. And then he goes in with the Registeel. So very, very meta team. Togekiss, Registeel, Giratina. Some people run Swampert, Registeel, Giratina, but very meta teams, and it's a very tough matchup to overcome. And so at this point, I know that I pretty much lost. Had I had the Weavile in the back, it still would have been really tricky, especially after the boost, if I got the Shiftry in. But at this point, I knew there's no way I possibly could lose. I don't even know why I'm throwing the Leaf Blade. I'll just probably draw a shield, but it doesn't really matter at this point, because he still has a full health Togekiss pretty much in the back. So that was as far as I made it. I had a win streak of 3, and that was winning the lead all 3 times with my Muck that I was able to even pull it off. I even won it in the 4th one, but I wasn't able to pull it off there. In my opinion, I think this challenge is pretty much impossible in rank 10. If you're in rank 9, you want to do the challenge, King's stipulation is you cannot use Lapras nor Dragonite as well as the current other bans. Something to think about if you're willing and ambitious to give it a shot. I personally tried for like about 2 or 3 days, and I just could not get it to work. On the bright side, I definitely noticed that Shiftry is a really solid pick. One caveat to Shiftry is that you do need it to be level 40 because it doesn't hit 2500. So you want pretty much near max IVs, if not 100%, which is definitely a Stardust investment for many people, and I know that that might not be feasible. So that's the fun challenge I decided to give a shot at. Tomorrow I'll be coming out with a video on my true anti-meta team without any restrictions, and I'll give you a heads up, there are no legendaries, so it is more cost effective than running the typical double legendary line of Registeel and Giratina. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see future content, and I'll see you all next time.